Welcome to Thoughts on Thursday. This is kind of season 2. What we wanted to talk about today was what we're calling the future of hospitality. And what a crazy subject. We could go into the world of artificial intelligence and machine learning and all kinds of stuff that we don't yet really fully understand, or nor, to be honest, is the industry taking advantage of. So just a little bit of an intro. Hopefully you can all kind of see the screen. This is designed, as I say, it's weekly, it's for the whole community and it's discussion, but it's really about sharing ideas between some experts who've been there before, but also what younger leaders and leaders of the future are seeing and learning. It's about support, it's about exploration, it's about sharing, just to make sure this industry can kind of come back stronger and come back fighting. This is the first of a series of 10. We're absolutely up for discussing kind of what's important to the community, but these ones were chosen by people in the Thoughts on Thursday kind of channel on our platform. As you can see, a lot of it's designed to be focused around self-development and really kind of positioning yourself for support and growth to get out of whatever situation you're in now, whether you're working and, of course, in a completely brand new situation, or whether you're job searching, or whether you're studying and planning kind of careers of tomorrow. Some kind of tips that we learned from season 1. One is, please do kind of listen and absorb. Really try and think about what's being said, but also kind of what's your perspective on it. You've earned that little bit of mental time each week to really think about bringing your best self to work, or bringing your best self to discussions, at university or job interviews. We would love to know what you think about a topic. If you've ever worked on or read anything that we're discussing today, we want to hear more. I learned more in the first season than I ever thought possible about where people go for different information, what's working and what's not. So let's get into it. I suppose before I do that, actually, we should do some quick introductions, shouldn't we? Martin, do you want to go first and introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Martin. For those of you who haven't seen me on the screen yet, I used to be a hotel GM until I got fed up with it and started my own company. So hotels are my background. I'm originally from Germany. I did an apprenticeship in a hotel, and I've essentially been in hotels ever since. What else? Yes, I did an online course with an online MBA with Glion. So there's the Glion connection, and that's me.
Perfect, great. And I'm James Lemon. So by background, also a hotelier. So I spent 5 years at Intercontinental Hotels Group, working and running strategy teams in Singapore and in Europe, but looking at the global business. So lots of fun, but hopefully we're both a little bit qualified to talk about the future of hospitality. So we've got 4 kind of themes of today, and this is absolutely not exhaustive, but we felt like it was a really great place to start, I think, from the work that we're doing with our clients and from the discussions we're seeing around the industry. So I think, Martin, am I taking the first 2? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So look, the first thing that I'm working with my clients is absolutely a broader approach to revenues. If you haven't heard this yet, then look it up, and there's some great articles that people are writing about it. But as an industry, I think you'd say we've got a bit of an obsession with room revenues, and that's largely because, 1, it's often the biggest chunk of revenues in the hotel, and 2 is because as hotels have split into brands and management companies and owners, a lot of those brands, like your Holiday Inns, they earn pretty much all their money on the room revenues. The contracts they write with the actual owners are for room revenues only. So these huge engines at Marriott, Hilton and IHG, when they franchise, they're often just really committing to drive room revenues. That's created a real problem in the crisis, because of course, if you're an owner, that was the first thing to be hit, especially any hotel that relies on international travel or largely business travel. So what you've seen the owners do is have this real think about, look, where can we get creative? And innovation is absolutely the heart of this. And where can we drive other types of revenues? And in a luxury hotel, kind of restaurant bar revenues is about 50% of the total, and even in a kind of mid-scale 3-star, 4-star brand, restaurant bar revenues are typically 30 to 35%. So it was already pretty significant, but what they've missed is this big chance to implement to think about all the things outside the stay, so your transfers and your tours and activities, but also all the other things that they can sell in the hotel. So those are the kind of two key points I wanted to make that I feel like just come up every day, and yet still as an industry we haven't really got our heads around. Martin, over to you.
So, and hotels had long had that fascination with, I've got to forecast for the year and what's the pickup and such like. So planning was always a big part of many hotels, and that essentially has become impossible. Right? It's in many marketplaces, it's not possible to say when business will return to pre-zombie apocalypse levels, if it ever does. Okay, entire core markets, whether that's regional, as in the US, China, or other segments, might break away at various times. There is now this inbuilt ability to plan, and along with that, also of course an inability to budget like we used to. Okay, this to some extent, of course, has been in the pipeline even beforehand. With so, for example, booking windows have become shorter and shorter. So, lead times have become shorter and shorter. And what that means is that we need a mindset shift here. Okay, we need new skills, and we need more than perhaps new skills. We need new approaches to things. We need to look at the way hotels are run. Hotels, right, or a lot of hotels these days still are very hierarchical organizations. Okay, they're very heavy on let's bring everybody together and let's fill in this budget, let's do this forecast, let's spend an hour or longer comparing this month's versus last month's type of stuff. And I think that's it for me, Mr. James.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, we are done. So I think, look, his three questions kind of leave us with then, right, to kind of kick off our discussion. Like, one is, what are your thoughts? Do we think as hotels we need to do more to expand our role for our community? Is that the route to survival, especially potentially as workplaces for people, thinking more about local tourists and local businesses? And two is, how do we move from being reactive to proactive to technology as an industry? Do we all need to equip ourselves with a bit more knowledge, no matter what function we're in? And then lastly, and Martin doesn't like the word indispensable, I know, but what can young and future leaders really be doing to make sure that you're really well positioned for what comes next? Andrew, I suppose if it's a tech question, what do you think of some of these systems out there? Like, is it something where actually if people really sat down, they could fix some of these problems of, is your room ready? I made a complaint yesterday. It doesn't seem like it's been dealt with. I complained about this and no one got back to me, etc.
Sure. In some cases, I think it's down to the education and the training in the properties. And thankfully, we've got some mentees here at some great universities where I think that the training in service and service delivery, and most of it revolves around your communication. Not just how you communicate with your manager, but how you communicate with the other departments to resolve issues. What often happens, I've found in the past in hotels, is departments get siloed. And it's kind of, we're not hitting this target because sales didn't do that, or risk and marketing didn't do this, or, this guest was unhappy because housekeeping didn't fulfill their job. And when we understand what all the roles and responsibilities are in the hotel and we approach it as a team, I think we stand much better chance then of delivering a better experience. But in regards to the technology side of it, and if I may, James, pull it back to your first slide where you talked about total revenue. Yeah. And I want to throw in a curveball and say that I don't think it's total revenue that we need to be focusing on. And I think it's the total guest experience.
And so Andrew makes a great point about, departments have to kind of find their own way through different tech. As I think about my last question about, well, what do the leaders of tomorrow really need? Do we all need to be more comfortable talking about tech? Do we all need to become more comfortable knowing the technology solutions in our area, but also in other areas of the hotel? Is that realistic, I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a Glion master's graduate, and I just returned from America, from Rosewood. And during my management training there for a year, I noticed that in RIMS division we had some fantastic technology, but as a staff member, as a front office agent, you didn't really have access to what's going on, even if it was the same technology, what's going on in other departments. But because I was a management trainee, I did see the background that was going on. So then again, there we have the hierarchy coming in, where we've put the hierarchy also in the tech. And then I kept messaging people whilst I was walking around the hotel, because I could see what's going on in the background, and I knew everything that's going on. I was one step ahead of the front desk agent, which was so unfair, because she could have then helped the customer further. So and then another one was obviously then that within the hotel you had technology, but then between the departments, for example, a cook didn't have any technology whatsoever for him to use. And for example, he would be going to a board to look at when his shift is, or when for news or information about what's going on in the hotel. Whereas then I had emails that I was looking at least, or I had an app and all these different things. And so the differences between departments in a hotel, it was just it was a surprise, and it was shocking, really. It should be different, and I'm sure that we are working on it, but it requires drastic change. Yeah.
Anyway, Akila, do you want to ask that? I did spot that. I was just going to nail this conversation first, but no, let's go straight there, because I really appreciate you asking the question. Do you want to go ahead and
Sure.
reading out?
So I'm just currently stuck in Russia. I came here for a week on tourism, so I haven't been at work for 6 months due to travel restrictions.
Oh.
So I've just been looking around at different job openings, maybe helping a few friends find some different jobs, and I came across a few jobs that were remote working in customer service, so front desk, where they would maybe put an iPad on the desk so that the guests have a specific person to speak to. This is something new to me, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on this new style of customer service.
This is a very fine hospitality solution. You could do this fully tech, okay? You could put a robot and AI and whatever, yeah? Or you could do it the hospitality half-assed tech way, where we're using an interface but still human beings at the back. Because, I mean, you can put an iPad like this into every single room, and if the guest feels lonely, and it's not one of the hotels where they get a goldfish, or they can press a button and talk to like a person.
Angelo, haven't heard from you. I'd love to get your perspective. Obviously, you've seen an adjacent industry. Maybe do a quick intro and tell people about your experience. But we'd love to get some of your thoughts on the role of technology.
Well, I was listening to the colleagues, and I'm a little bit surprised. Perhaps on cruise line we are a little bit more lucky, and the budget most likely are quite large. So we use the technology. We used to use the technology already 20 years ago, but obviously the evolution further increase our capability. To a point that we decided to build our own software and our own technology, if you want to call it like that, because whatever the market was offering, at least for our particular sector, was not enough, or was becoming too expensive to modify. So we decided to build our own software to operate. So technology for us is very important. We're looking at that particular sector constantly, and there will be, also going ahead in the next few years.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I see Andrew's put there in the chat, SOS, see it, own it, solve it. And I think that's absolutely right. At the same time, without technology, it means the business isn't learning. Has that problem come up dozens of times? Or if it takes more than one team, maybe that one person didn't do the best solution on their own. So I think it's a really interesting one. Really conscious of time. Quick thank you to Martin for kind of preparing those thoughts. And a quick thank you to everyone for taking part. Andrew, always great to have your experiences. Angelo, like, I got a ton of stuff out of how cruisers do this so much better. It's been pretty inspirational. And the rest of you, thanks for kind of sharing. Hopefully that's been useful. Do give us feedback, always working out how to improve these, make it more engaging, but hopefully it's okay to kind of let the conversation flow today. And hopefully we'll see as many of you can next week. Do share and give us your thoughts. So thanks everyone, and have a fab end of week and weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Ciao.